points from the lesson. Live in the hills, but I still get a spread. Started with a live, but I still reinvest it. Fear how I feel, then it feel like a blessing. I just want the lesson, I just want protection. I'm up and I'm down, but they sound like progression. Farmer never plans if he waits for perfection. Finger to the down, hold it.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, I got your watch list coming in on March 1st, 2022, and I'm gonna be buying 3 stocks this week. Today was crazy. The markets were not as bad as the news, but it opened the opportunity for a lot of different trades. I'm excited to go over the winners of today, but this week has a lot of developments. We are at the cusp of a lot of things, and where we go from today, it is going to have a lot of implications. So I got the keys for you. I have the plays, and we're going to talk about all of that, but to really get an idea of what happened, again, the news was a lot worse over last night and everything. We gapped up and we were able to go up this morning, and it was off of news that there was peace talks between Russia and Ukraine at the Belarus border. That really was good, but most of the day, it's not as if we got any developments. There was some other sanction news and stuff that Putin said, but for the most part, we are developing this situation, and today was kind of the first step, and that's why where we go from the rest of this week, it is going to be key, and the Fed is right around the corner. So drop your thumbs up on that video if you find it helpful, and big shout out if you guys have been showing love, holding it down, sharing the channel, and even being on stream, because we are live Monday through Friday, 30 minutes before open, youtube.com/thestockmarket. We will see you there in the morning. But as far as today and what we got, here's a little fun fact. It is now the biggest losing streak for the S&P 500 since October 2020. And again, if you didn't watch last night's watch list, a lot of things since 2020, they're starting to emerge right here. So we got to be careful for that. But essentially, the NASDAQ closed green, but the SPY losing streak, it is not looking good. Now, as far as what happened, like we're saying, I can't say this enough. The news was a lot worse than the reaction that we got. Again, we made targeted actions on SWIFT. We banned the Russian central bank from any transactions, and we explained this today, why that's so important. It'll make it very hard for the Russians to be able to intervene on open markets to stabilize their currency and everything else going on. So that was a big deal. Again, all of the news was bad, but if you take a look, I mean, you got a green close on the NASDAQ. That wasn't really that bad of a reaction, but that's why the next few days are going to be key. But now, the good news that we got today, it had nothing really to do with the peace talks. A lot of people saw that as the bullish driver here in the morning, but the real thing from the morning even till close, it was the Fed futures, and those dropped dramatically. Again, I already showed you the S&P. You could see the little gap down, but here is the December rate hike odds. Just a couple of days ago, it was pricing in about 6 rate hikes, and now we are getting closer to about 5, or it's at least not fully pricing that in. If anything, maybe by tomorrow, it may get closer to 4. There is a news update on it that I'll share with you, but you could see it right here. The Fed futures chilled out, and essentially the news and everything was so bad today that people are finally pulling their foot off the pedal as far as the Fed is going to be really aggressive. So at the very least, if you're looking for anything bullish or good news, this was definitely one of those pieces. So we got that, but now the bad news, it kind of goes hand in hand with the good news. The bad news is simply that the bonds moved a lot more than the stocks today. So if you saw TLT, that was up 2%. Again, the Fed futures, that is the short end of the curve, and those moved up a lot, but now the S&P did not move as much. We closed down maybe about 0.25%, not bad at all, but now you're getting a 2% move in the bonds. So this is what we're going to have to watch out for. We've talked about this many times, but essentially one of them is going to be right. Either the stock market is right or the bond market is going to be right, and well, we'll see what happens. But as far as that was the only real development here today. Again, most of the news hit early in the morning. Anything throughout the day, even the UN, the Security Council meeting, the emergency one, it didn't really produce anything too crazy. So we will see if we get any updated reactions, but that's pretty much all that happened today. And now, coming into your first pretty picture, you probably saw this, and this is related to defensive stocks, literally defense contractors like RTK or RTX and Lockheed Martin. But this is showing you defense stock outperformance compared to the S&P 500. And the last time that we saw defense contractors outperform the whole market by this pace, it was around 2000 and 2001. I'm sure you could figure out what was going on around there. But that's your first pretty picture. Again, we made a couple of plays. We talked about it yesterday. These are definitely what people are going to be looking at, and now it's breaching a point, and it's getting now to some comparable historic levels, so got to keep your eye out for that. But as far as the rest of this week, I said it yesterday, and even watching how we played out today, the reaction, bonds, all of that, this is definitely going to take all week to sort out. The big risk that we are looking for is anything defaulting, including Russia as a country. That is the next big thing. If you're going to watch the market, even want to retest the lows or anything, we may react if there is a full takeover of Kyiv. That is definitely possible, but till then now, if you want to understand the financial risk beyond commodities and oil and all that, now with all of these payment blocks coming in, you want to see if anything defaults, whether it's an oil company, a company related to Russia, Yandex, who knows, or now just the bonds of Russia as a country itself. So there was that, and we've talked about it today, and I don't know if this is good news or bad news, but essentially the whole situation has now escalated to the point where there is just no simple off-ramp. Yes, we got the volatility, we're at the lows, we have the Fed in 2 weeks, and that'll definitely be important, but right now, with how it's looking with Russia, there's just no easy way to revert everything that just happened, so that's going to be now the difficulty to forecast as we start moving forward, so watch out for that. And finally, keep your eye on oil and materials. This has been the number one thing we said to watch, but now be careful of some of these weird moves. I pretty much think pre and post market, we're going to get a lot of the moves. The premiums are going to move crazy. Again, if you didn't watch last night's watch list, I would definitely check that one out, but essentially, we may start getting a lot of these moves, so keep your eye out for that. But coming into the company news and events, the first one, here's just a little quick update on what has happened or the most notable things here from Russia and all of that. But the first one, Putin has now banned all foreign exchange transfers within the country. Again, they blocked the central bank of Russia. It makes it very hard to control your currency, but one thing you can do is control how currency is transferred in your country. He has the monopoly on that, so he did that as a step to slow things down. But again, it's showing you some of the effects having, or some of these sanctions having effect on him. So there was that, and then we need to see this development, and this is pretty much what a lot of people are going to be waiting for. Putin said that he is going to have counter sanction, and he pretty much set a red line as far as anybody assisting Ukraine. He said, if you are assisting Ukraine, we are pretty much going to respond to you. They are not taking that good. It is his line in the sand, and now we're going to see if he responds to it. Again, Canada, a lot of other countries have offered assistance, so we will see what happens. But there was that, a little bit of a weird piece of news, and to understand how far-reaching some of these things are, Disney, they said that their top performer Encanto, the soundtrack is actually going to get affected by the Russian sanctions, since a lot of people have downloaded it in Russia and Ukraine, so they're saying they won't be able to recognize revenue off of that. I don't know if they can't or they don't want to, but there's a little fun fact. But again, day by day, as we start seeing certain effects, this is going to start coming out here, so keep your eye out for that. And then the Swiss, honestly, I think this one is groundbreaking. I think this is wild. They have broken the historical precedent. Literally, Switzerland has decided to not be neutral, and they said they would be willing to back some of the EU sanctions, and pretty much they froze some of the Russian accounts. I think it was about $11 billion, but this is a new world we're living in, because that is very, very weird for the Swiss to be involved in anything political like that. So very, very wild to see, but there was that. And again, Musk, we were talking about him yesterday. There was a nice, cool picture there on Twitter. He actually delivered all of the Starlinks. It was pretty cool to see, so a lot of people like that. And then BP, another oil-related things. Again, we saw a lot of this news. Even Uber, they said that they're selling off one of their stakes there, or exiting a joint venture there with Yandex. But Shell, just like BP yesterday, they have exited the stake in a Russian oil joint venture. Again, they have a stake in some of these Russian oil companies. They said they are no longer a part of it. Again, even BP, I'm pretty sure they took a big loss on it. So it's highlighting a lot of people right now are just getting out of anything Russia money related, even at a big, big loss. So pretty wild to see. And then finally, JP Morgan's Kalanovich. This guy has a good history. I mean, he said a couple things back and forth, so I want to see how people start viewing his notes. But today he said that the worst might be behind us, and he said that Russia and Ukraine dims the odds for an aggressive rate hike, so he is kind of bullish. We will see what happens. That's what we talked about. Again, the bond rates did definitely chill out today in the Fed future, so we will see if that ends up having a positive reaction. But today was crazy. A lot of different different things happen. We are going to watch a lot unfold. If you thought you were in peak volatility, well, it's just even worse now because the global tensions, they have hit a point that we have not seen in a very long time. And where we go from here, it's about to get crazy. But that is pretty much it. So let us get into the plays. So right off the bat, I got 3 different stocks that I'm looking at coming in today. These were the only plays that I had today. I did actually take profits on some things, but the first one, I really like this one, and it is WEAT, wheat. It is a wheat ETF, and why I'm playing this, because about 30% of the world's wheat production, it comes from Russia and Ukraine, and this morning, defensives went up, oil and a lot of other commodities, they were going crazy, but the wheat ETF, it really wasn't moving, and I just think it is a relatively uncrowded trade until the internet gets a hold of this. So again, we saw some moves. The option chain was absolutely dead. We got a killer deal on them. We're going to go over the play. I'm hoping this doesn't get too much exposure. It might be good, but on the reverse side, the thing I'm worried about it does not move a lot. You could go for shares if you don't want to play the options, but this thing does not really move. And if you've looked at the wheat chart, a lot of times you'll get these big pops and then it'll come down even harder than oil. So with some of these weird moves with oil, materials, all of that, same thing applies with this play, but I think a lot of people may be overlooking at this one, and depending on the premiums, this one may be some good exposure. So I picked up some, really like the play. As far as the actual play, I grabbed the wheat October, and I made sure I got time. They were out of the money again. You pretty much could have got in the money for the same price. I was going to go with shares, but I figured with the amount of leverage that I could get at a low price, it was good. I was trying to get filled at 15 cents. They almost got filled, but I went with 100 contracts for 20 cents, spent about $2,000. They closed here around like 30 to 35. Again, it's far out the money. This ETF doesn't move, but I'm thinking with enough time and depending on how this situation plays out, it may be good, but just take notice, open interest on this play, even the volume. I mean, nobody's looking at this one. So again, it may be good until the internet gets a hold of it. I don't know when people are going to start really talking about it or if people find it. Again, I have not heard anybody bring this thing up. That's why I'm like, all right, I kind of like it, but sometimes with these slow moving weird chains, if it gets too crowded, it will be difficult to double dip. So gonna be riding this one out. We'll see if it does come down. I may even grab some wheat futures, but I do want to see how the whole situation escalates. But I really do like this play. Unfortunately though, now it is about 50-60% since when I bought it in the morning, so watch out for that one. But that is the first play. Now coming into the second play, RTX, I did a play on this one. Pretty much we had the Lockheed Martins. I got 1,000% on that one. It was like $100 into about $1,300. And again, if you guys have been watching along now, this is the second week in a row where we've got to do 1,000+% play on a trade that was less than $150. Last week, Yandex $50 into about $700. This week we got Lockheed Martin $100, $140 into $1,300, $1,400. Not too bad. So I sold out of Lockheed Martin this morning. They ended up going higher. I was in the money, but I only had March contracts, so I really only had about 2 weeks of time left. So what I said, well, Lockheed was leading the way, and if you guys have ever seen the RTX chart, at one point they were struggling a little bit better, and then they started to react. But if you compared the premiums even to Lockheed Martin, they just were not doing the same thing. So I said, all right, might be the time to get some, and my idea was I just made $1,400 on the Lockheed, took the 1,000% off $100 investment, and then I put $400 to roll it over to RTX. But now I got an extra month of time, so then that way I got a worse play. It was lagging behind, and at the time Lockheed Martin was up about 4% on the day, and then RTX was only up about 2%. So I grabbed the 115 contracts. I bought them at 39 cents a pop. I bought 10 of them. They went up over 100%. You can see they closed 84 to 90. Absolute killer trade. We still got the defensive exposure, got to take profits, and now gonna ride this one and see what we get from there. But there was that one, and then finally coming into the third play, I was eyeing these today, but I was a little bit scared of the premium. I want to see how it's going to play out, and I know it will be volatile, but BITO, this is the Bitcoin ETF. You can't even look at Mara, HUT, Coinbase, even MSTR. A lot of the Bitcoin plays, they even went up here a little bit after hours, but essentially the premium started getting juice, and this had a wild launch up today. Again, market was coming down, then all of a sudden, Bitcoin started going up thousands of dollars at a time, and it was very, very wild because it is going contrary to what we've seen over the last year and a half, and that is Bitcoin has been correlated to the stock market. But now today, you saw some of that global hedge come back. So if that happens and people start eyeing Bitcoin as one of these avoid Russia sanction things, this one might be crazy and it could be very exciting. So definitely going to be watching out for that one. But those were the main plays. As far as everything else, I did not make any other trades except the wheat today, then the RTX and taking profits. But like I said, going to be watching them. I have those XOM weeklies. They went up 30%. They expired this week at 82. I said, considering the situation, I'm going to be down to hold them. But again, XOM started off a little bit rough. Remember, they had some of that negative news, so watch out for that. Watch Tesla. Absolutely killed it today. A lot of people thought it was because of the German factory, but no. All of the EVs went crazy today. Again, if people are worried about oil, materials, all of that, don't underestimate the benefit that anything electric would be getting. So I think that was part of it. Definitely going to watch out for them. Again, B&O, we have these plays, and remember, it sold off. Sadly, our contracts are still down because of that first move, but I'm still liking how it's holding. And again, we made sure we got a lot of time. So like I said, I'm going to wait till everything kind of starts moving again to get into it. But Brent crude is still going to be the key. Even WTI starting to go up, but Brent is going to be the leader. I don't think this play is done just yet. We got to just really play the waves and find our entry points if we want to add more, but still holding those plays. They're down about like 10% now, but going to be watching a lot of Brent tomorrow. Coinbase, like we said, again, a lot of the crypto news, even after hours, people keep talking about this whole sidestepping the sanctions and all of that. So watch out for them. Watch out for TSM. They really sold off today. I don't know if it's related to getting technology and stuff to Russia and all of that, but this is a abnormal reaction, and it's definitely different than all the other chip makers. Think it's also tied into China as well. But if Russia is a big customer of them somehow and they're not able to get the money, that could have an effect. But it was definitely an underperformer today on the market. So watch out for them. Apple, I really like how they held up. Don't underestimate their safe haven ability. They were selling off here, but going to keep my eye on them. And Facebook, they were leading really early in the market, and I was a little bit surprised. I thought they'd have a little bit more weakness here, but watch these levels, because again, you got a slight bounce from that 200. If it cannot hold up and maybe even get to like 220, I mean, we may start dancing around at a lower range, but definitely going to be looking both ways there on Facebook. And Zoom, they got clapped off the earnings and came back. People like the buyback news, and they did beat, so we'll watch what happens with that. And then Roblo, somehow they were able to close green, and those old leaps are finally coming up. Not the old ones, but the second set of old ones. Yeah, you guys know how, there's a lot of growth and like everything, but there was that. And then finally, TLT and the dollar, like I'm saying, man, either the stocks or the bonds are going to be correct. Again, they both went up. Stocks did not move as much as the bonds. This was a big move, and we talked about it. The bonds are very attractive all over the world right now, and that's what we're going to have to watch out. And what's really going to mess with the yield curve is what is going to happen here in the next 2 weeks. But in a weird way, just don't forget, this has been a leading indicator, and you could kind of see it a little bit. So we'll see how things play out. But the Fed in 2 weeks here, it is going to be very important. In the meantime, we're going to watch the bonds and see if they break a signal. Again, essentially, we need bonds to go lower, but if bonds keep rocketing higher, this is showing safe haven demand, and the more this moves up, more likely it is to derail the Fed. So I hope you're ready. But that is your watch list, ladies and gentlemen. Make sure hydrate healthy, ready to go. Make sure post your watch list. Make sure we see you there in the morning. I need the armor on. I need the helmet shot. I need your rumper. We don't want normal, baby, but Nicole loves you. I love you. I'm gonna see you in the morning. Let's go.